And many of you, and I went through this too, you're keeping score on your emotional commitment to a trade. Now think about that. You're measuring your emotional commitment to every trade you're putting on right now when you're new. What separates the trader that thinks like that from someone that's consistently profitable? They're not holding their entire career up by the results of that one transaction. They're not leveraging so much that even if it doesn't pan out, it is insignificant in the grand scheme of things. That one thing, that one transaction, that one idea, that one decision didn't materialize in a manner that was favorable for you. But you're not worried about being right. That state of mind is what I'm getting at with this particular podcast or Twitter space. When being right is no longer enough. See, right now in the beginning, everybody wants to be right. That's your scorecard. How many times can you be right in public? How many times can you be right in your private demo trading or tape reading? And you're building this idea, if you're doing it like this, you're building this idea of reporting to yourself as a scorecard or a report card on the basis of how many times you're right. When you make decisions in the average everyday life, the things that you want to see happen for you sometimes doesn't pan out like that. Something happens, traffic keeps you from getting into work on time. It wasn't your fault. You made the decision, though, to leave when you did. But you didn't know that traffic jam was going to tie you up. And then you may have some kind of repercussion at work. You were heading to work. You had good intentions. You were right about doing that, but you didn't get there on time. So you missed the mark. That's no different with trading. You're going to get up. You're going to start your day. Open your charts up. You're going to have a game plan. You're going to wait for the market to do specific things to line up a setup for you. And you're going to push a button. And once that button is pushed and you're in there, all control has been removed from you. The only thing you can control is the risk and how much time you stay in that trade. Everything else is out of your control. And it's interesting as a psychological experiment that all of you have the opportunity to measure yourself in. When you learn how to do what I'm teaching, it at some point becomes easy to do it in demo. You get confident that you can do it consistently. Some time in the future, for you, you'll decide when being right is no longer enough. You'll want to trade. You'll want to do a funded account, or you'll want to speculate with your own live funds. And when you push the button then, you don't have that blank void of, if I'm wrong, I don't lose anything. Now you have, I got to be right. Because if I'm not right, I lose money. And now where's your mind focusing? You're worrying about the risk too much. There's a great deal of acceptance that's required for us to do this with real money. And that risk is, unfortunately, something you need to embrace. You can't shy away from it, because if you are shy to risk, you can't do this in live funds. And a lot of people discover that they can't do it without going through some kind of growing pains. And some of that is very long and arduous. It's just daunting to get through for some of you. But you have to be prepared for that being the case for you. because you're wrestling with wanting to be right again and not have that feeling of, if I'm wrong, it doesn't hurt. That's the reason why we teach to be completely bored. You shouldn't be excited about it. If it goes to your target, okay. I mean, are you going to work every day thinking, man, look at this. I got here again on time and I get to spend all these hours again for the man. I hope he appreciates me. No, of course not. It's just something that you do. It's a routine. But you need to make your trading just like that. And the only way you can get it like that is by completely desensitizing yourself to the outcome. Making it all about, am I following the rule? Am I following the protocol? Am I managing risk impeccably? Are you doing everything to preserve capital first and foremost? Because if you're doing that, and your model is rooted in sound logic and things that I've been teaching and proving that exist in Price Action Live, you have the best opportunity for you to submit to that process. And over time, this is why it's important, if you ever make the step or leap of faith into trading with a funded account or live funds in your own brokerage account, you start with a very, very insignificant amount of money. And you go through that whole process again of desensitizing yourself. Don't make it about, I got to make a 5-figure withdrawal. I got to make $1,000 withdrawal. If you start putting time limits on your goals in something like this industry, it makes you impulsive. It ushers in fear of missing out and plain old-fashioned fear. You foster performance anxiety, and you don't realize it's going on, but you're doing it to yourself. So the reason why I teach the way I do is it gives you the best probability of finding yourself in that sweet spot mentally where you don't care what the outcome is going to be. You know what you're doing is rule-based. This is what time the market should be doing this. This is where the market should be gravitating towards, and this is the draw on liquidity. I'm submitting to that idea when I'm looking at the charts, and I'm waiting for something to be a catalyst that I've been studying for months and did back testing on. I see it, it makes perfect sense to me, and I know where to place my stop. I know when I would move my stop. I know when I'm going to take my first and second and third, if it's possible, partial. I'm also looking for the things that would negate the idea. What kills the trade idea? These are all things that you have to have understood. Just because you have been consistent here and there with demo, don't think that you are prepared to trade with a funded account or live funds. You're not. You have to be completely bored of the outcome. It's the same thing. You're doing the same thing over and over again. There's going to be a state of impatience because you'll get to this consistency stage where you can do demos and you're able to find it and do well with it. Very little drawdown. It goes to your targets and you're done. And you start forming these disciplined ideas about how many times you're going to trade per day or session, and then you're going to stop. No matter how good you feel like you're on the side of the marketplace, no matter how dialed in you feel, it's time to close and get up from the table, take your chips, cash them in, and come back tomorrow. But that's very hard because being right is addictive. Being right is what everybody wants to experience all the time. And they want to feel that consistently too soon. It's something you can't obtain quickly. You have to go through a process of submitting to back testing, studying old moves, tape reading, then demo trading, And all of that requires a great deal of patience that most of you don't have.